All right, first order of business before we get on our main project, we got a little bit of work to do to both of our T7 tractors in here, and with planting season coming up and several trips across the field, some of them at high speed coming up, we want these things to ride as good as possible. Now, both these tractors are equipped with front suspension, which is becoming a very common option on a lot of late model tractors. And the way this suspension works is, we've got a suspended front axle, and here is the main dampener that supports the axle and provides a lot of action. And it's really kind of a complex system that it's hydraulically, or it's electronically hydraulic operated with sensors, incline sensors, jolt sensors, and everything else to work this cylinder up and down to keep it level, provide your dampening, and everything else. Now, when these tractors were new, the suspension system worked great. I mean, it really smoothed out the ride, but after, of course, a few years, noticed that just wasn't working as good. And then when I was watching this cylinder going through the field, I noticed it wasn't really moving all that much, and had quite a few service calls trying to figure it out, replace a lot of components and sensors and everything on there, and really never could figure it out until I really understood how this system works. Well, not only is that cylinder provide your dampening and it's electronically activated, the initial dampening of the system actually comes from this nitrogen filled accumulator. So when your front tires hit a washout or bump or whatever, it sends a shock through the oil in the system up here to this accumulator, and then this accumulator's got a nitrogen filled bladder in there that can compress, and that's what provides your initial dampening, while the rest of the system compensates and opens and closes valves in your hydraulic cylinder here. But if your accumulator's not working right, then the rest of your system's not going to work right either. And these accumulators here are really not the highest quality, at least the internal bladder. After a while, these bladders will lose their charge, and then you lose your initial dampening. But these things are like over $1,000 a piece times two. We found out we can get by taking these off, taking them over to a Tennessee Tractor. They've got the right fittings and compressed nitrogen to be able to hook up to this and recharge it. Now, it's not going to be a permanent fix because, if the nitrogen leaked out in the first place, it's going to leak out again. But if it can get us, a couple months to get through planting season, and then we do it again, say midsummer, get us through the rest of the season to get good suspension action, definitely a lot cheaper than replacing these things. So anyway, first thing we do, they're pretty easy to take off, but because the whole weight of the front tractor is riding on the hydraulic system going through that accumulator, we need to jack up the front of the tractor to support it. Otherwise, we are definitely going to cut an O-ring in half whenever we take it off. And then other than that, real simple. Unbolt it here at the top, then unscrew the accumulator off the block there. Andy, for this tractor here, we got you can take that jack out of the hydraulic press over there and jack that front end up.
All right, get it on blocks too.
All right, see all that foamy oil? That's nitrogen in the oil that should be trapped in the bladder. So even though we got it jacked up, we're just gonna let it sit there and drip a minute, make sure all the pressure's relieved off the system, because last thing I'm gonna do, first thing on Friday morning, is take a hydraulic oil bath. All right, got both of them checked and charged up. This one right here was only down about 20%. That one over there was not even, is about 40% charged. So that tractor should definitely ride a lot better, and we should see a little bit of improvement in this. So anyway, now that we broke open the system, got that replaced, now final thing we got to do is we got to calibrate the suspension system. All right, in order to calibrate it, we got to put our computer into the HH menu, and to do that, put a jumper wire on our diagnostic port crossing the B and G ports. So when we turn it on, that'll pop up as HH. No, that'll pop up as HH menu. So like that. Now we scroll down. That. Alright, then we find our suspension here. Right there. We hit that. It says Cal down here. Now we just hold down our suspension button. Alright, then it runs through the calibration. See those numbers changing on the bottom? Alright, says in. Should be done. Now I just got to do the other tractor there. All right, on for our big project of the day, and hopefully it's not too big because it's already 2 o'clock in the afternoon because we've had a bunch of other stuff we've been dealing with. But we're going to be working on a sprayer here. There's nothing broke on it, at least not to my knowledge. There's nothing broke on it right now, but we will be adding a system on here that really helps us be a lot more precise in our application and our chemical measurements. If you remember back from the farm machinery show in Louisville, we spent a little time with Mr. Simon of Simon Innovations at his booth. That's the company that I bought the lift kit from that we put on that sprayer several years ago that I absolutely love. Done a fantastic job, especially allowing us to apply late season fungicides on our corn. Anyway, he had another product over there in his booth that I didn't know about, but after talking with him a while, he talked me into trying it out. And anyway, what we're going to be installing on the sprayer is his Accu-Volume system. And what it is it's a monitoring system. It works off of a pressure transducer to let you know exactly how many gallons of solution you've got in the solution tank. One thing that we have always found troublesome when we're filling up and stuff, you know, we're going off this sight glass right here. You know, we can see our gallons and stuff, you know, all the way up to 1,000 gallons. And a lot of times, especially after using this thing for a while with chemical stuff, this sight glass gets kind of cloudy. We have to replace it, but it's kind of hard to see exactly where your level is. But more importantly, our fields are most definitely not level, and when you're filling up, if this sprayer is tilted forward, backwards, side to side a little bit, the sight glass is not going to be completely accurate, just depending on which way the fluid is tilting. So we try to hit 1,000 gallons, but I mean, we're looking right here and we're trying to see when that ball hits 1,000, then shut off our water. So every time we're going to either be overfilling it a little or underfilling it a little bit. But right now with these monitors, when we get them calibrated right, there will be one monitor sitting right here. We can be standing over here by the water truck and watching that, and when it hits 1,000 gallons on the dot, we can shut our lever off and we'll have exactly 1,000 gallons. And with some of the stuff we spray, especially like insecticides on cotton, some of the herbicides on wheat, you know, we might only be applying a half, 3/4 of an ounce of product per acre. And you know, if you overfill this thing by 15 gallons, well then you put an extra acre's worth of water in there, and that can really throw off your rate. And when you're using such low volumes of chemicals, you know, we haven't had any problem killing stuff, but you know, you're either over or under applying the amount of chemical that the amount of chemicals that you want. And then also another problem, you know, I'm sure any of y'all that have sprayed will know what I'm talking about. You know, you try to hit it at 1,000, you put the 1,000 gallons in your monitor whenever you fill up, but you don't exactly know, you know, when you're getting down low, if it says you got 15 gallons left, you don't really know if you got 15 gallons or 35 gallons, or might have 5 gallons. So when you start off on that next pass, it's always kind of a gamble. Are you gonna make it to the end of the row before you run out or not? Is that not true?
Sometimes you're about 40 yards short.
Yeah, sometimes you're about 40 yards short, but we're gonna have a monitor right here on the field station, but we'll also have another monitor up there in the cab that reads off the same transponder, so we'll know exactly how much we got in the tank. At least that's a theory anyway, according to Mr. Simon. So anyway, it's going to be pretty simple to install. This is going to be our outside monitor. We'll mount right by the field hose. We've got a nice looking bracket that mounts to. And then we've got our other monitor goes up in the cab. The bracket that he's seeing is for a 2630 monitor, which we don't have. We got a 4640 monitor in ours. So we're probably going to do a little bit of fabricating on the mounting of the cab monitor. Then we got our little pressure transducer. That's actually going to fit on where the sight glass comes out of the bottom of the tank. And that's what does all your reading. We got our main control box right here, and then all we got to do is just run the cabling, run 12-volt power to it, and that ought to be it. And then we got to calibrate and everything. So looks pretty simple. So I think we kind of halfway got this figured out. We're going to start putting some stuff on and bring you back and show you what it looks like. All right, Andy, this project's going pretty dang quick, isn't it?
We're working on 15 minutes now.
So more like 45 minutes. Let me show you what we've done. We got our exterior control box mounted up. I think the recommended place for this thing is actually going to be mounted down here. But even with our lift kit spraying corn, you know, there's going to be tassels and tops of the corn plants in this area, and I didn't want it beating on the monitor, so we decided to put it up there. So had to drill 2 holes in the top plate, get it mounted. We got our cable hooked up, and he's got, I mean, this is a super nice kit. You can see he's got it labeled, you know, exterior display end, and then the other end of this cable says control box. And then we've got under here, which is the part that does all the work. All right, if you can see it right here, this hose right here, this is our sight glass, and right there is where it comes out of the tank. So we had to cut this hose in half and mount this T. And then if you can see it, this right here, this is the pressure transducer. I mean, this is the heart of the system right here that does all the work. And anyway, what that pressure transducer does is it's measuring the weight of the volume of water or a solution in the tank, and based upon the weight, what the weight is, it knows how many gallons is in the tank. So, you know, it doesn't matter which way the tank's leaning forward, backwards, sideways, you know, because the weight's going to remain constant on it. That's going to be a lot more accurate than the sight glass. So we got that pressure transducer, we got the cable on it, and now Andy's trying to figure out the best way to route these cables into the cab. Are you gonna run them through the back glass, or you say there's a grommet up there, or what?
There's a little grommet, but we're gonna have to poke a hole in it. And I'm just looking down through it in between the tank and the cab to see which way they can go there.
Where's that grommet at? Is it right there on the glass?
It is right there. There's the only grommet on it. It's in the bottom right corner, I'm sure.
I'm thinking that's probably the best thing, because our power supply is going to be on the right hand side, and I'd like to mount that control box up under the armrest on the floor, so be less cables actually running into the cab. We got plenty of cabling, so let's probably do that.
All right, well, let's do it. For this monitor up here on the spot on the pillar, I don't know if you've gotten up here and see where
I was about to get up.
I
get up
put
there.
2 bolts in the pillar, but it is, I mean, it's low, so it's like right at foot level.
Let me get up there and look at it. All right, what are you saying?
I'll say instead of, I'm sure that's not even the right thing. I'm sure you mounted on this square part.
Yeah.
But this little lip will hold it right there. And these 2 holes do line up with these 2 holes.
Really?
So, I mean, we could mount it right there and just have an extra piece of black hanging down, or cut it off. But it is, if you have a better idea, that's just my, I was looking at that up there, or these 2 down here, but I didn't.
So did these two down here have these covers on here?
Yeah, they're the exact same covers.
Let's pop these off and see what it looks like up here.
All right.
All right, this solution what we come up with. Andy found those mounting spots right there. Now I looked at these up here, and these holes line up perfectly with the holes that are drilled in this piece. I'm just going to have to drill these holes out just a tad bigger. So that's going to be up there eye level, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this bracket slightly to bring the bottom of it out to where it's more angled up more towards your eyes. And I think mounting that monitor right in this spot is going to be absolutely perfect. All right, we're using a 7/16 inch drill bit to drill these holes out. Be ready to mount up. All right, we're going to bend the bottom of this bracket outwards to give it a slight upwards angle. Probably about perfect right there. All right, got our bracket mounted up like that, and then you can tell it's got a, kicked out on the bottom. Then he includes some Velcro to adhere to that. Back of the monitor. Just like that. All right, we're gonna run the power to our control box from this power strip right here. So we need to find out what's hot and what's ground. All right, right's hot. All right, turn the key off, lose voltage. All right, so that's accessory power on the right hand side, and the middle one's gonna be ground. All right, got our control box, got all our wires for the two monitors, transducer run up here, and we just actually gonna set this thing down in this little cup holder right here, almost like it was made for it. All right, we got power run to it. Turn the key on, see what she looks like. All right. What about our monitor down there, Andy? What does it look like? Is it lit up?
Oh shit! Oh, it's got some lights going to it.
All right.
I see 2 zeros on it.
All right. Other than some cable management and zip tying up, we performed the extent of the instructions. Now, I don't know about calibration, so Mr. Simon left plenty of business cards and contact information in the box. I'm gonna call him, give us a rundown on exactly how we need to calibrate this with water and everything, and we'll bring you back. All right, Steve got back with me, and yeah, we were doing it completely wrong. There is a very complex calibration process that we need to go through, so I'm gonna walk you through step by step on how you do that. First thing, all right, that's good. Yeah, we need to fill our tank all the way up to the brim, and this is going to be different on every sprayer, but Steve says our R-Series sprayer should hold roughly 1,050 gallons. So we got it filled up to the very brim. All right, we're going to set our tank volume on our monitor at 1,050. The flow meter on this is going to be extremely accurate. We're going to use it to measure out how much we're actually spraying out. All right, up here on the screen, I'm going to click on here. And this brings us up to our calibration page. I know it's hard to see, but it's showing right now the sensor's reading is 2798, and for 1,050, this programmed is 3,600. So that's why it's not even showing close. So we're going to go in here and change. We got about 1,050 gallons in there. We're going to go in here and click on that number, change the target value to 2798. All right, now 1,050 is showing our sensor reading. So now we're going to turn our pump on, And we're going to spray out till we get to 1,000 gallons. All right, stop it. All right, now up here where it says 1,000 gallons, we're going to click on that, the pressure, change target value. All right, just got that in there. Now, next target, we're going to do 925. And we'll go down through all of these, 925, 850, 775, all the way down to 0, setting the target or sensor reading for each one of those, and then it should be calibrated. All right, we're getting closer. The last few ones are doing in 25-gallon increments, just to be precise. All right, stop it there on 75. Click up here on the number beside the 75-gallon, change target value, yes. And then we got to do it for 50, 25, and 0. All right, here's where we really got precise. When I got down to 25 gallons, I went back in there and I reprogrammed my monitor for 125 gallons because I knew it'd probably spray out past 0 gallons on my monitor. We started out with 125 and my tank's completely empty at 92 gallons. So there's actually 8 more gallons in my tank than what I had programmed in my monitor. So we've got all of our values for each of these numbers right here, but because we had 7 more gallons, when we thought we had 1,050, we actually had 1,057. Then we had 1,007, 932. So we're going to go back to all of these tank reading numbers and add 7 gallons to it, and it should be about as accurate as you can get. So like here for 25, we'll type in 32, enter. Then for 50, we'll type in 57, enter. 75, we'll type in 82, enter, and so on all the way through there. All right, we're going to fill it up with a partial load here and then test it out and see how accurate it is. All right, it appears to be a whole lot closer now. We'll put about 300 gallons in there and spray it out. All right, it's showing 313, but if you look it up here at the mark, I mean, I guess that's right on 300. So that just shows you how inaccurate these sight glasses can be. So we're gonna go put 313 in our monitor and spray it out, see how close it is. All right, 313. Pump on. Start spraying. All right, that's showing 30. That's showing 34. So we're about 4 gallons off between the two displays now. We'll see which one is correct here. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're still spraying. And there he goes. Well, that one caught up and matched it, 0. So looks like it might be a couple gallons off going through the field, but it's just hitting all those different calibration numbers. In between those numbers, it might be off slightly, but pressure dropped at 0. We said we had 313 gallons in there, and right after it hit 0, we lost pressure. And that's also a 0 too. I don't think you can get any more accurate than that, can you?
That was nice. Instead of typing in 325, we would have been short.
Yeah. So looking at this density here, because thinking about nitrogen and stuff, nitrogen's heavier than water. I think we're going to have to do some playing around with that, but I'm going to have to call Steve and find out exactly how we program that. But I think we just click on the density, and you got several different things you can select from, and I think you can program a density in to there. So I'm going to call him about that and ask him, and I'll let you know here in a few minutes. All right, we're gonna have to wrap up the video here because my battery on my camera is about dead. But anyway, I called Steve, and because nitrogen weighs quite a bit more than water, like 32% UAN weighs 11.06 pounds per gallon versus water weighing 8.34 pounds per gallon. You do need to adjust the density on that screen. And what he was telling me is that the maximum density you can have is 1, so you can't put in anything above 1. And I was thinking because nitrogen is heavier, it'd have a greater density, it would be over 1, and that's why I was having problems. But basically, we're telling the screen to read lower than what it normally would for water. So anyway, like I think I need to put in a calibration factor of 0.75 for 32% UAN. As opposed to water, and that should make the display read pretty close to accurate. The only way it's really going to be really accurate is if you go through the whole calibration procedure for nitrogen, just like I did for water. And you know, we only spray nitrogen a few times a year, so we'll probably play around a little bit with density. That'll get us pretty close, but we really want it accurate for water, spraying out pesticides and everything. So we'll definitely keep you updated as we go throughout the year, you know, things we've learned about it. But so far, I'm pretty tickled with it. You know, it's not cheap. Forget the exact price. I want to say it's probably somewhere in the ballpark of $3,000 for that system. But if you're really wanting to be just really precise with your pesticide applications, making sure you're getting the exact rate, not over applying or under applying any of these expensive products, I think this is going to be a very useful tool. It's going to make loading the sprayer really, really easy, a whole lot easier than what it was, and I think Kelly and Andy really going to like it a lot. So anyway, again, if y'all are interested in that system, contact Steve Simon at simoninnovations.com. They're based out of Canada. And anyway, they got that lift kit for my sprayer that I put on. They've also got the taller lift kit that they just come out with that I showed it on the Farm Machinery Show video, plus that Accu-Volume. And I'm pretty sure they got some other products, but Simon Innovations, a fantastic company to work with. Been you know, dealing with them for several years now. They really stand behind their product. They make good products, and really a pleasure to deal with. So I'll have a link down in the description below to get a hold of them. And and that Accu-Volume system, I'm pretty sure it can be retrofitted to pretty much any sprayer out there, whereas the lift kits that they offer is pretty much only for John Deere R series sprayers. So anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. Appreciate y'all watching. See you in the next one.